Okay, so welcome back, my YouTube fans. Another shout out to Realm Ether. I did find more on the pawn promotion. I'm going to use the Chessmaster software. You notice that it's a blue screen kind of like thing. Let me get back to the actual pawn promotion. Here it is. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to select the pawn promotion on the quiz, on the tutorials of Chessmaster. I've used, as you may, if you have seen my earlier, couple years back, 3 years back, I had my first chess academy. This is the software I started to use when I first started this. So I've got it down to kind of a science now with this software, and I did find, this is for Realm Ether, I did find more about promoting to other than a queen. So this entire lesson on promotion is about the pawn promotion, and sometimes it's the queen, sometimes it's not. And then there's a quiz afterwards. So what I'll do is, I have to talk through some of this, otherwise YouTube will not let me monetize it. But there is a sort of a computerized voice, somebody speaking in this. But as long as I explain it further and do some of the boring talk, I can go ahead and monetize this. So in any case, this is about promotion, and when you would promote to a queen, or when you would promote to a knight, or even a rook. And there's a quiz following, so I'll take the quiz with you. I'll give you, each time I'll give you a few seconds. I won't have to count them on the clock, but I'll, wait a few seconds. You could pause the video and decide for yourself. And who knows, maybe I'll get one wrong. So here we go.
When a pawn reaches the opposite side of the board, it can be promoted to any piece except a king.
Okay, so that's how this lesson starts. First, he explains that you can promote the pawn to anything except for a king.
Normally, chess players choose to promote the pawn to a queen, because that's the most powerful of all chess pieces. Theoretically, if all of your pawns made it to the other side of the board without being captured, you could actually have a total of 9 queens on your side.
Yeah, like that'll ever happen. But yeah, in other words, I'm pretty sure he's about to explain how people underestimate the power of the pawn. The pawn structure and the pawns themselves can actually be underestimated because they are the one point. But in fact, you get that pawn to the other side and you promote it. So the question with, which I gave a couple of examples already in the previous video, was about promoting to other than a queen. So now we're about to see some samples of that, and then we're going to take the quiz.
However, in some situations, a player may choose to promote his pawn to a piece other than a queen. This is called underpromotion. In this setup, when White's pawn reaches f8, he chooses to promote it to a knight, thereby achieving checkmate.
You see, now if he had chose a queen, first of all, it would have easily been, it would have easily been a checkmate afterwards, a couple of moves, or even just one move. You would just move the queen. If this was a queen, you would just move it here and it would be checkmate. But, after he moves a pawn or something. But imagine now if he didn't have any pawns. Okay? It would be a stalemate, because you would only have the king to move. In this case, it wouldn't have mattered, but the immediate checkmate is always the best. Okay, so let me continue this.
Because of promotion, an opponent's pawn that is unopposed is a dangerous threat. Here the white king is too far away to capture the black pawn. Black can now win the game with ease.
Also, in pawn promotion, in trying to promote a pawn, you have to, especially if it's only a king's left, you have to calculate whether or not you can actually get the pawn to the other side of the board before the opponent's king catches up with you. This particular tutorial also talks to you about that. It teaches you about that. So let's continue and go on with this.
Remember, only pawns can be promoted. This makes pawns more valuable than they seem at first glance. A promotion can instantly change the balance of power in a game.
Well, that's obvious.
White to move. Which pawn should promote first?
Okay, so now we'll get to the quiz part, and this is where I can at least do most of the talking. So here's the question. Which one do I promote first? Obviously, this is a very simple example. If I were to try and promote this pawn first, it would simply, be captured by Black's rook. So it would be this pawn that you want to promote first because Black's bishop is in the way of being able to capture. So obviously I want to promote the h-pawn first.
Correct.
Okay?
Black to move. Which pawn should promote first?
Again, there's a knight here. Obviously, trying to promote this pawn, it would be captured immediately. Not that it would be such a bad thing because you still got another pawn that'll go with queen. Again, these are very, very basic samples. But nevertheless, the right answer is the g-pawn.
That's correct.
Okay, I noticed that I didn't give you a few seconds earlier. I forgot to give you a few seconds. But in any case, you can pause it before I give the next answer.
White to move. To what piece should white promote?
Okay, this directly applies to your question. Is there a time when you promote to other than a queen? And the answer is an obvious yes. So, what am I going to promote here? Do I promote to a queen? Do I promote to a rook, bishop, or knight? Well, in this case, I'm going to wait a few seconds. Okay, in this case, it is a queen. Because anything else wouldn't be checkmate. A queen is checkmate. Because if I promote to a queen, he can't escape. It's checkmate.
You got it right. Black to move. To what piece should black promote?
Okay, now this is where you have to think, well, wouldn't it be better if I promote to something else? Sure, queen would be okay. You promote to a queen, you're going to be able to win the game sooner or later. But take a look closely. Black also has a bishop over here. In this case, the promoting to a knight
Correct.
is checkmate. Okay?
White to move. To what piece should white promote?
Okay, and again, this one's a bit obvious. This one is just an easy queen. At least I think so. Let's find out.
You got it right.
Okay, so yes, you do often promote to a queen, but sometimes you don't. Let's take a look at something else.
White to move. To what piece should white promote?
Now here's another basic case. Now you have another pawn. Okay? So if you promote to a queen right now, it's going to be queen king against queen king, and you have the extra pawn. It's going to be rough. You might make it. You might end up checkmating sooner or later. But what if you were able to just simply get rid of his queen and then use your other pawn to just go and promote it? Because he can't catch up to you. Therefore, this is another time, pause, for a knight.
That's right.
See, as soon as you promote this to a knight, now you're forking his king and his queen. Again, these are very basic samples. I'm not so sure that you'll, in a game, that you come up with this basic setup, but it does happen. It does happen where inadvertently your opponent's king and queen are in a knight's reach, if you had a knight in that space, and if you happen to be lucky enough to have a pawn sitting at the 7th rank and the king and queen on the 7th rank, there it is. So you would promote to a knight, he's in check, and as soon as he gets out of check, you take his queen, and then you have this other pawn to promote to a queen so that you can finish the game.
Black to move. To what piece should black promote?
Now here's a tricky one. No, I think this is also a knight. What do you think? Absolutely. It's just the same thing on the other side of the board.
Correct.
Okay? Promoting to a knight puts him in check, and he's in checkmate because you can't go here with the bishop here. If you didn't have that bishop there, of course, it wouldn't be checkmate.
White to move. Which pawn should promote first?
Again, he's got a knight here. If you try to promote this pawn, he's just going to capture it. On this one, you promote this one first to a queen. Puts him in check, and you capture his knight, and then you can promote the next one. So that would be the G pawn.
Correct. White to move. Can the black king stop the white pawn from queening?
Okay. Now here is the trick of the square. Can black's king catch your pawn from promoting? Well, here's the trick of the square. I'm not able to draw arrows on this particular program. At least I don't think I can. Let me try. No, I can't. The trick of the square shows that if you were to draw the diagonal, right, and then show the square, okay, if black's king is, or your opponent's king is on the outside of that square, and it's your move, he cannot catch you. So the answer here would be no.
That's right. An easy way to tell. Look at the diagonal which runs from the square the pawn is on to the 8th rank. Imagine this diagonal as connecting the opposite corners of a square. With the pawn on d5, there are two squares formed, with the corners of one square at d5, d8, g8,
It's going a little bit too much
g5,
into it.
and the other at d5, d8, a8, a5. If the black king is inside either of these boxes, with white to move, he can catch the pawn. This is easy to visualize and can save the player the mistake-prone tedium of calculating exact move sequences.
Okay, so he went a little bit elaborate on it, but basically that's what it comes down to. If the king is inside of the square of the pawn, you make the square by, counting the squares over or diagonally. If he's inside the square, he's going to catch you. And sometimes you have more than just a pawn and a king, and sometimes your king is more active. You can shoulder his king away, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned later on. Maybe I'll find those lessons as well. So let me continue this.
White to move. To what piece should white promote?
Okay, here's another one where it's asking what piece should white promote to. Now, excuse me a second, I'm going to clear my throat. Okay, now it's still not too clear. Any case, this is tricky, a little bit tricky. If you're in a hurry and you're not, you want to get this game over with, your first thought is, oh, I'm going to get my queen now. But what happens? I want you to take a look at this to see what happens if you get that queen. Take a look carefully. Think about promoting this pawn. I wish I could see. This program doesn't allow me to draw arrows and stuff, but it doesn't allow me to fast forward this. So you have to try and imagine it as if you're doing it. So let's just pretend for now it's your move. You're going to promote this. You're going to promote it to a queen. What happens now? It's black's turn. Can black move? No, he can't. That means it's a stalemate. So here you have a winning position. You're about to win this game, and you promote to a queen, and that's a blunder because you ended up with a stalemate instead of a win. So the right piece to promote to, in this case, is a rook. Okay? In fact, let me just, before I show you that, let me show you if it was a bishop as well. Even a bishop would be a stalemate. But let's go with the rook.
That's correct. By now, you've probably figured out that the different chess pieces vary in strengths and weaknesses. The queen is the most powerful. She can move any number of squares in any direction and controls 27 squares.
That wasn't supposed to. Okay, that's piece value. All right, so that'll be for some other time, perhaps for a beginner's course in piece value. But I did want to show again, I want to thank you again, Realm Ether, for asking me about the pawn promotion. I think I'm going to use this Chessmaster tutorial section for further lessons and further videos. So as you can see, there's things about defense, pins, forks, discoveries, etc. Stalemate. Okay, there's even stuff about opening. So I believe I'm going to use this software for further lessons, and I want to thank you all for watching. This has been a little bit longer of a video than I have been making recently. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you have any questions, like our friend Realm Ether did, about something you like to learn about that I'm not covering as of yet, please make the comments in the video comments, or if you see me on G+, you can do it there too. All I can say is thank you, and keep on playing. Sayonara.